Section 1.5 Bias in Sampling. If the results of a sample are not representative of the population, then the sample has bias. There are three sources of bias in sampling. Number one, sampling bias. Number two, non-response bias. Number three, response bias. Looking at sampling bias, this means that the technique used to obtain the sample's individuals tends to favor one part of the population over another. Example, any convenience sample has a sampling bias because the individuals are not chosen through a random sample. Example 2, every 10 years the United States government conducts a census. A true census may not be conducted, therefore has sampling bias because it is impossible to survey all individuals, especially the homeless. Non-response bias exists when individuals selected to be in the sample who do not respond to the survey have different opinions from those who do. Example, at the end of this course, you will be asked to complete a student survey about the course. Past experiences shown only about 20% or less respond to the survey. Example 2, response rates in random digit dialing telephone surveys are typically around 70%. Email response rates hover around 40%, and mail surveys can have response rates as high as 60%. Response bias exists when the answers on a survey do not reflect the true feelings of the respondent. Response bias can occur in a number of ways. 1. Interviewer error. Does the interview have something to gain from the results? If somebody's doing a survey and they have something to gain, the way they word the questions and influence the answers may have an effect on your results. Is the interview skilled enough to get truthful answers to difficult questions like, have you ever stolen an item from work? Second, misrepresented answers. How many push-ups can you do in a minute? If somebody asks you this question, what's going through your mind? I don't want to say too many, I don't want to say too few, and I really don't know how many, so I'm just going to give a guess. What is your annual salary? Well, whenever you're asked for annual salary, what do people like to do? They like to inflate it a little bit. On average, how many hours a week do you spend on this course? If I ask you this question, what's your response going to be? Is it going to be truthful, or are you going to adjust it a little bit because you're trying to think what I want you to say? Third, wording of questions. Do you oppose the new tax laws? Or B, are you in favor or oppose the new tax laws? You know, there are two different types of questions, two different wordings. You know, one you have to think a little harder, you know, in favor or oppose. You're going to have to decide, and then you might run things through your mind. Am I in favor or oppose? Where the first question is, do you oppose the new tax laws? Well, yes, right away. Nobody likes tax laws. Another example, should all high school students be expected to pass an exit exam in order to receive their high school diploma? Or should all high school students be given an exit exam to receive their high school diploma? Now the question here is, in Part A it says expected to pass. Part B didn't say anything about passing, it just said should they be given an exit exam. So you could get two totally different answers for these questions. Now fourth, ordering of questions is important on a survey. If I ask you, please state your annual income first, and then second I ask you, what do you feel is a good annual income? Now you might think, oh, I need to go back and adjust what I answered before. So if you switch this around to what do you feel is a good annual income, you might put that down, then please state your annual income. Well, you don't want to say you're doing poorly, you want to say you're doing good, so you say good. Or another example would be, how much do you weigh? If somebody asks you, how much do you weigh? You know, are you truthful? And then right after that, they say, what do you feel is a good weight for a person your height and age? And if you reverse these questions, I'm sure you would get two totally different responses. Now, 5, type of questions used. Open-ended questions, harder to organize results and draw conclusions, but may give you a result you never expected. So if you ask open-ended questions, people are more apt to give you answers that you may not have thought about. B, closed questions, easier to organize the results and draw conclusions. This is what most people like when they do a survey. A closed question, it's straight cut, yes or no, true, false, easier to organize and draw conclusions, but you may miss the important fact. Data entry. Of course, we know that, you gather your data. If somebody's sitting there entering data, if they enter it wrongly, it's going to throw off your results. So this is the end of section 1.5.